Mark Lynas, Our Final Warning, 6 Degrees of Climate Emergency. Embark on a sobering journey through the potential consequences of climate change in the summary of Our Final Warning, 6 Degrees of Climate Emergency by Mark Lynas. Understand the meaning behind the 1 degree Celsius global mean temperature increase, and the devastating effects it has already inflicted upon our planet. Delve deeper into the world that each additional degree of warming brings, highlighting unparalleled threats to ecosystems, wildlife, human well-being, and agriculture. Learn how to mitigate these risks and discover the power of renewable energy, rewilding, and sustainable human choices to change the outcome. This easily digestible summary of a complex topic will enlighten you on the critical challenges our generation faces, and the vital steps we must take to protect our planet.
The 1 degree world. The Earth has already reached a global mean temperature of 1 degree Celsius above 19th century levels, and current emissions levels could raise the world's temperature to 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels by 2030. The primary effect of the 1 degree rise has been to warm the oceans, which reduces ocean water's oxygen content, making oceans acidic and damaging ecosystems. The escalating global temperature poses a new threat: sunny day flooding, where seawater inundates streets and parkland even on fair weather days without high onshore winds, and produces widespread droughts that cause food shortages, wildfires, forest die-offs, and resulting waves of migration. Defaunation, which means that 40% of mammal species and 32% of all vertebrates have experienced severe population declines in recent decades, is another disturbing trend. The book exemplifies how the irreversible effects of a 1 degree rise in temperature could end life on Earth if continued to rise. The dire consequences of a 2 degree world. In a world where global temperature rises by 2 degrees Celsius, substantial losses of ice in both the Arctic and Antarctic regions could result in a chain of extreme weather conditions. Sea levels are projected to rise by moderate levels, leading to the displacement of almost 80 million people. Habitats for wildlife, such as coral reefs, mangrove forests, and seagrass meadows, are also expected to vanish, along with krill, a crucial food source for numerous marine animals. Food insecurity is another significant challenge posed by a temperature rise, as agriculture would decrease by 1%, leading to a scenario where malnutrition could cause more than 500,000 deaths by 2050. Even assuming a decline in crop yields, a 550 ppm, parts per million, concentration of CO2 could affect food's nutritional quality, leading to a loss of up to 17% in protein, zinc, and iron. The consequences could be worse in the Amazon rainforest, which is critical for biodiversity and home to many indigenous tribes. At the same time, temperature-related drought and fire might cause just the range of mosquito species that propagates deadly diseases, like dengue fever, to grow exponentially. Perpetual warming, the consequences of a 3 degree world. As the world warms up, there is an acceleration in the ice melt, raising sea levels to the point where over 50 million will lose their homes. Furthermore, weather extremes will occur, with people experiencing temperatures beyond the survivability threshold. A warmer climate will prompt feedback mechanisms that perpetuate warming, such as the thawing of the Arctic permafrost that will release dangerous greenhouse gas. Human life will drastically change, with agricultural labor impossible in areas of severe heat. In a world at least 3 degrees warmer, rising tides could endanger over 100 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, including the Statue of Liberty. With the Antarctic ice sheets melting, the threat of sea level rises for at least 3,000 years. Warnings are in the offing. The grim future of a 4 degree world. In a 4 degree world, humans will face dangerous levels of heat, megadroughts, crop failure, global famine, catastrophic flooding, and the loss of species. The effects of such a world will lead to mass starvation, and the collapse of civilization. The catastrophic effects of a warmer world. A world with an average temperature increase of 5 degrees Celsius would bring about the end of life on Earth as we know it. The rising temperatures would have devastating effects on food production, destroy ice sheets, and render parts of East and South Asia uninhabitable. It would also create a world of arid lands and little vegetation, with periodic heavy rainfalls and floods. Global temperatures would soar to levels far beyond anything experienced in the past 50 million years, and the Earth's oceans would become increasingly acidic and oxygen-poor. Higher latitude locations and mountain ranges would still be habitable, but human populations will need to relocate due to limited resources. The melting of ice in Greenland and the Antarctic ice sheets could raise sea levels by up to 3 meters, which would displace significant populations. This book warns of the dire effects of climate change, and the need for radical action to curb global warming before it is too late. Catastrophic consequences of a 6-degree rise. A possible 6-degree rise within a century could trigger a runaway warming process, leading to the extinction of the biosphere and impeding life's ability to continue on Earth. The end Permian extinction event 251 million years ago is proof that such mass extinction is possible if there is an enormous amount of CO2 emissions. Although human emissions have not yet reached the same level, the current annual emission rate is much higher than that of the past. Therefore, there is a high risk of catastrophic climate change that could lead to the permanent destruction of life on our planet. Meeting the Paris Agreement target. The Paris Agreement target can be achieved if all existing and proposed fossil fuel power plants are eliminated and the production of all internal combustion engine vehicles, home boilers, and industrial blast furnaces stops. To prevent a 2-degree rise, the annual reduction of fossil fuel emissions by 6% is necessary, with net zero emissions being achieved by 2050. This can be achieved by relying on geothermal, wind, solar, and nuclear power while also changing traditional agriculture practices and utilizing genetic engineering techniques. In addition, rewilding large areas of forests and setting aside large conservation areas in the ocean could be a promising mitigation approach.
Having explored the dystopian scenarios that arise with each additional degree of global warming in the summary of our final warning, it is evident that urgent action is required to protect our planet and its inhabitants. From the loss of vital ecosystems, coastal regions, and precious wildlife, to widespread drought, famine, and migration, our increasing global mean temperature presents immense risks that can no longer be ignored. However, all is not lost. An array of potential solutions and mitigation strategies exist, such as transitioning to renewable energy, pursuing rewilding activities, and making sustainable lifestyle choices. By embracing these measures, we can alter the fate of our planet, safeguarding life on Earth for future generations.